The gamble that redefined a dynasty. It began with decisions so reckless that even his closest allies begged him to reconsider. One move, taken against the advice of experts, family, and every voice of reason, yet would alter the fate of an entire dynasty. This story matters now because every generation faces a crossroads between preserving what they have and risking everything for what might be. In an era where wealth can vanish overnight and opportunity hides in places few dare to look, understanding how one bold gamble reshaped a legacy reveals a thin edge between ruin and transformation. It started with a family empire built over decades, steady, predictable, deeply traditional. Their wealth came from safe assets, cautious investments, and a philosophy that valued preservation over ambition. But the youngest heir saw things differently. He believed the world was shifting beneath their feet, that the old rules no longer guaranteed survival. While others clung to the comfort of familiarity, he saw stagnation disguised as stability. His conviction formed after countless nights studying markets no one in the dynasty bothered to examine. Emerging sectors, unloved assets, technologies dismissed as fads. Among them, he discovered a field so underpriced, so overlooked, that he believed it held the key to the empire's future. But investing in it meant abandoning the strategy that had protected the family fortune for generations. The early reveal came when he proposed reallocating a portion of the dynasty's wealth into this new, untested arena. The reaction was immediate: shock, disbelief, outright resistance. Elders warned him of catastrophe. Advisors insisted the risk was unacceptable. But he had seen a trend forming, subtle yet unmistakable, and he refused to ignore it. Quietly, without approval, he began building the position anyway. Small at first, a test, a signal. And in those early days, the market's movements confirmed what it sensed all along. The opportunity was real, rare, and growing stronger by the week. But as the first signs of momentum emerged, so did the forces determined to stop him. The gamble had begun. Whispers spread through the halls of the dynasty's headquarters. Advisors noticed unusual movements in the accounts. Elders questioned discrepancies in quarterly reports. The heir's quiet accumulation of the new asset was no longer invisible, and the pressure began to mount. At first, he tried to explain his vision calmly. He presented charts, historical analogies, and early data that hinted at exponential growth. But the room remained cold. Tradition had shaped the family's identity for generations, and his proposal felt like a betrayal. To them, risk was an opportunity. It was danger wearing a clever disguise. The reveal deepened when external analysts, hired by the Elder Council, issued a formal report condemning the investment. They described the sector as unstable, speculative, a place where fortunes vanished faster than they appeared. Their words echoed through every meeting, strengthening the resistance around him. Yet he saw something the report didn't: a shift in consumer behavior, a technological breakthrough, a demand curve just beginning its ascent. Still, doubt began to creep into his thoughts. His early gains were real, but modest. Volatility increased. Headlines questioned the viability of the entire sector. Some days, the asset surged. Other days, it fell so sharply that even he felt his resolve flicker. Advisors seized on every downer as proof he was leading the dynasty toward disaster. The early conflict emerged when the council imposed restrictions on his authority. They limited his access to capital. They reassigned key staff. They even threatened to remove him from the investment committee. Their goal was simple: stop the gamble before it grew large enough to matter. But they were too late. During the weeks of internal turmoil, the asset had begun attracting attention from outsiders: venture funds, early adopters, innovators who saw the same opportunity he did. Prices stirred. Interest grew. The quiet market he once navigated alone was awakening, and with that awakening came validation he desperately needed. Yet the family saw only danger. The heir stood trapped between two worlds: a rising opportunity pulling him forward, and a legacy determined to hold him back. And every new tick of the market widened the distance between them. The gamble was no longer theoretical. It was becoming a battle. The turning point struck on a day that seemed ordinary at first. A quiet morning, steady markets, nothing unusual on the news. But beneath the calm surface, momentum was gathering. A major institution announced a surprising move. They were entering the very sector the heir had bet on. The announcement wasn't loud, but its implications thundered through the market. Prices surged instantly. Volume exploded. Analysts who once mocked the sector scrambled to issue revised outlooks. And in that sudden burst of validation, the heir saw the future he had predicted beginning to take shape. But for the Dynasty, the surge wasn't proof of vision. It was proof of danger. Volatility meant risk. Fast growth meant fragility. They feared he had dragged the family toward a cliff. The conflict escalated when the council confronted him directly. They demanded he unwind the position before the exposure grew any larger. They warned that a crash could cripple the dynasty's reputation and financial stability. But now, unwinding wasn't simple. The position had grown in value. Liquidity was tightening, and large sellers would trigger a correction that could erase months of gains. He refused. Tension erupted in ways the family hadn't experienced in generations. Arguments filled meeting rooms. Advisors took sides. Some praised his foresight. Others accused him of ego-driven recklessness. The dynasty fractured into factions, tradition versus transformation. Then came the blow that almost shattered him. A sudden regulatory announcement sent the sector tumbling. Prices crashed in minutes, wiping out weeks of progress. Analysts reversed their optimism. Commentators declared the boom over. The elders seized a moment, demanding immediate liquidation to protect what remained. The heir felt the weight of every glare, every whispered accusation. The charts bled red. The position that had once felt like a rising tide now looked like an undertow pulling him under. Doubt tightened around him, sharper than ever before. Was he wrong? Had he misread the future? Was the dynasty right to fear what he had embraced? He stepped back, studying the data with trembling focus. Fear clouded instinct, but the numbers didn't lie. The regulatory shift wasn't a death blow. It was noise. Temporary. Emotional. A shakeout designed to flush out the weak hands. The underlying trend, the one he had discovered long before the world noticed, was still intact. But the dynasty didn't care about trends. They cared about survival. As the price continued its violent swings, he made the hardest decision of his life. He doubled down, not in size, but in conviction. He held, quietly, steadily, against every voice screaming at him to retreat. And in the days that followed, something unexpected happened. The sector stabilized. Rumors emerged of new partnerships. Innovations accelerated. Prices slowly, then sharply, began to rise again. The heir had survived the moment meant to break him. But the true test, the one that would determine whether he redefined the dynasty or destroyed it, was now rushing toward him with unstoppable force. The climax arrived without warning. A global announcement hit the wires, one that would transform the sector overnight. A coalition of major companies revealed a groundbreaking partnership built on the very technology the heir had championed. It wasn't hype. It wasn't speculation. It was adoption at a scale the market had never anticipated. The asset erupted. Prices soared past every previous high, slicing through resistance levels as if they didn't exist. Analysts who once dismissed the sector now raced to explain its potential. Funds scrambled to enter positions they had ignored for years. The world shifted in real time, and the heir stood at the center of the storm, watching the map of the future align with the bet that had nearly destroyed him. Inside the dynasty, the mood flipped from fear to astonishment. Advisors who once opposed him now praised his foresight. Elders softened their stance. The family's net worth surged as a position he had built, quietly, defiantly, multiplied beyond anything they had imagined. In the span of hours, he wasn't just vindicated, he was rewritten in their eyes. But for him, the moment was quieter. He knew the victory wasn't luck. It wasn't rebellion. It wasn't youthful arrogance rewarded by chance. It was a result of discipline, conviction, and a willingness to see the world as it was becoming rather than as others remembered it to be. The resolution unfolded in a single family meeting. This time, no debates, no warnings, no raised voices. The elders asked him not to unwind the position, but to lead the dynasty into the new era he had predicted. The empire that once resisted change now depended on the very vision they had tried to stop. He accepted, not out of pride, but out of purpose. He understood that his gamble had never been about profit. It had been about evolution, ensuring the dynasty survived the shifting tides of a world transforming faster than tradition could follow. The legacy he inherited was preserved, not by caution, but by courage. And as the family embraced the future, one truth echoed to the halls that once held nothing but doubt. Sometimes the smallest shift in perspective becomes the beginning of a new future. The